Aaron, you making a second?
Yes.
Okay. Roll call. Roll call, please.
Mr. Marpetto?
Yes.
Mr. Buchanan?
Yes.
Ms. Gibbons?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mayor Vinesia?
Yes.
Mayor, before, I just want to insert this. This is a form that has to be filled out. Actually, each governing body member has to sign this. So I'm going to pass it now, pass it back so I can pass that on to the clerk, please.
And this is the outgrowth of the resolution that you just passed.
Yes.
The state is asking for a certification prior to the filing of your budget. So this is the certification. The previous resolution authorized this certification.
I have to sign off for that.
That document then is not submitted to the state, is maintained and publicly available here in the city.
Okay. Next, we're moving down to 41-2018 to read the 2018 budget by title only. Somebody make a necessary motion. Motion. Is there a second? I'll second. Roll call on this.
Mr. Marpetto?
Pass.
Mr. Buchanan?
Yes.
Ms. Gibbons?
No.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mayor Vinesia?
Yes.
3 yeses, 1 no, and 1 pass.
Well,
You wanna come back to me?
He's not gonna vote.
I'm sorry?
You need to come back.
Go back to Mr. Lavelle.
No.
Okay. 3-2, yes.
Next, we have a public hearing on the budget. And at this time, I'm going to make a motion to open the meeting for the public. Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Meeting is open to the public only specifically for the purposes of anything within our budget. Questions, not what's going on another issue, but just strictly the budget. Anybody have any questions? Three?
Two things. I think on sheet 11, the final total, well, 6A. It says for 2017, the amount to be raised by taxes, $459,847.85. I'll wait for you to get the sheet 11 first.
What was that figure you said again, 459 what?
Well, the local purpose tax for 2017 was $459,847.85. But for this 2018 budget, which has been introduced, it's $459,933.31. So despite there being some statements that made it sound as though the budget went down, the amount being raised by taxes has actually gone up slightly, but still went up.
I'm going to defer that to our auditor.
The tax rate remained the same, but the net valuation taxable decreased, which caused that about $100 necessary increase in order to keep the tax rate at 29.8 cents.
Yeah, I was just getting at statements being made about where those amounts are. The other is on sheet 9. It seemed to be, because in the talking of the overall budget going down, it seems as though some of that is more an accident of timing, because the Clean Community Block Grant that the engineer just talked about isn't in there at all. The amount for road work from the state went down by about $4,100. Clean Communities isn't in there at all. then it has the unappropriated balance for municipal alliance. And I'm not sure, the question is, when we're saying, well, if the budget went down, but it's really down by the accidents of timing, that these things are gonna come back in, where later in the year, there's going to be insertions into the budget, then just talking about general transparency. I realize that sometimes that can sound whatever, but
Can you make your point, please? Get to the point.
that the statements that were made regarding the budget itself having gone down may not be, in the overall scheme of things, correct. That's all. That's
The tax rate has not increased, which is basically what Mrs. McAllister has indicated, so there is no increase in the,
I didn't say there was an increase in the tax rate. I said there was an increase amount being raised, and that the overall statement of the budget going down may not be that correct either. When we compare apples to apples, you can say one's Red Delicious and one's Fuji, but generally people prefer the Fujis now to the Red Delicious. The other thing is regarding the court. It would appear, because I'm not sure where that, there was the amount, I think that was on, I don't know if that was sheet 7, I didn't bring that with me. There was, I guess that was a one-time thing from Weymouth Township for the court, or is that gonna be a,
Yearly figure.
that is gonna be a yearly figure?
$4,800
Yeah,
yearly,
that is yearly coming in,
yes.
okay. Because we're still, it would appear, going to be short of breaking even for the court.
it appears that we're actually operating at about $21,000 a year in the red.
Well, in the red, that may well be close to being correct. I prefer we operate in the black, but we may be operating in the red, and it depends on which numbers you're counting.
I'm going by what I was told by the auditor, somewhere close to $21,000 in the red. And it seems like that seems to be the pattern of what's been happening with the court. Couple of things, number one, yeah, we have a $4,800 allowance from Weymouth Township to take to court from them, but then again, the judge's salary went from $3,000 to $8,500. So there was no gain with that whatsoever, and then the other thing is, we have to pay for the sheriff's services, which years back, we never paid in advance.
Yeah,
So it's down
Joe,
to
I
the
think
point
we're
where
saying
we're
the
just-
same thing, but you want to argue about it, because unless Mrs. McAllister is saying unless I'm misunderstanding what you're just saying, we're losing on the court. That's what I was trying to get at.
Yes.
And so that is the question of, sustainability, because, having an actual armed professional sheriff's officer is one of those things that if you talk to the court personnel, I think they're going to insist, particularly in these modern times, with that. Joe, I'm just saying that, again, here's $20,000, which affects the tax rate when we don't break even on the court. So I'm just lifting that up for, what is viable to
If
continue.
this is of any comfort to you, aside from the fact that there's been a $5,000 increase for the judge, there's also the amount of money we have to pay for the sheriff's department. But then also, there seems to be less coverage of patrols in the area here, which then means not enough tickets are being written, and therefore we're absorbing more and more costs. So yes, I'm actually thinking that maybe we need to make a decision to do something differently. I had this conversation, I believe, with you yesterday, didn't I, Larry? And if it wasn't yesterday, maybe it was today, but we're taking a second look at this here, and we're making some changes.
All right.
Is there anybody else from the public? Mrs. Faith?
Okay, I'm getting pulled up the budget. I'm curious, one for the salaries. What's other, you have other expenses, but you don't have what other expenses are. Is that insurance? Or do you have stuff on?
Other expenses is operating costs,
No, for
supplies, whatever.
the salaries?
Jed, you want to explain?
Okay, and what line item did you say?
It's the general government, like you have mayor and council salaries, and then there's other expenses.
Other expenses would include like postage, it would be dues to professional organizations, it would be office
It's not-
supplies.
So,
Each-
all right, I'm just curious.
Yeah, yeah.
Under the clerk, you have other expenses, 25,000. It's just stuff for her office, or?
Yes, well, that's a big one for the postage.
Okay.
We have copier leases, anything to do with office supplies.
Oh, so you put it there
Yeah,
with her
right.
Isn't that odd, because you put it with her salary though?
No, you know, the salary and wages have to stay separate,
Right.
and then there's an operating cost in each department.
Oh,
So
okay.
those two line items go together, so you can clearly see
Okay.
what the clerk's office, for example, is costing.
Oh, I didn't know.
Right.
Okay, makes sense.
Anybody else in the public?
But also at 25,000, it also dealt with the cost of the election as well, the special election.
That's right, yeah. Any election costs is part of that.
Any other questions from the public pertaining to the budget? Hearing none, somebody make a motion to close?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Next. Motion to adopt the budget of 2018. Is there, I will make the necessary motion. Is there a second? Somebody make a second just so we can move along.
Second.
Second. Okay, are there any discussions, questions? Aaron, you're kind of a new guy, do you have any specific questions that seem to be baffling you on anything?
Not yet,
Not yet?
not yet. I'm working through it, I'm powering through it. I'll get you with one, don't worry.
What's this now?
I'll get you with one, don't worry, I'll get you one.
We're gonna get you one, that's the limit here. Carol, do you have anything you wanna touch base on while they're trying to think? Tax rate stays flat, there's no local purpose increase, which is a good thing.
I just have one question, Mr. Warbler. We were in the finance committee for several years. Is there anything in this budget that you see that alarms you?
I just see that there's no money being put into the capital in the public works and the facilities area.
Well, that will probably be happening through, the resignation of one employee. And we should be able to absorb some costs. Monies will be built into our budget, in which then we'll have monies to set aside for any public works capital improvement. We currently do have.
Capital improvement you take out of the capital account.
All right, so how much do we currently have in the capital account?
I'm not sure how much.
I'm asking, I don't have that in front of me.
Okay, neither do I.
Okay, very good, thank you.
So, the issue is there's nothing in the page of that.
Looking at? Yeah.
26.
Carol, do you have your number in front of you? Or within your computer? What is the amount of money for capital?
The capital fund has, a couple different accounts. These are, from the unaudited financial statement. There's a reserve for road construction, approximately 15,800. There's reserve for public buildings and grounds, 14,850. There's reserve for purchase of public works equipment at $25,000. That was the amount in the budget last year, none of it was spent. And there's a capital improvement fund balance of $23,450.
But none of those items are listed on the 2018 claims.
They have been previously budgeted for and unspent, and when they're posted into the capital fund, the balances can roll forward to be spent at any time during the year. So they don't need to go back into the 2018 budget that they've already been budgeted for.
So we haven't increased anything, we haven't added anything to these lines. Basically, we're relying on what's left over
What was
from
in the
last year.
balances. Let's see. That's correct, yeah, we did not put anything in capital.
So what we could do, if council's okay, we can take it from the one line item of, the public works, from our previous employee and insert $10,000, $20,000, whatever somebody feels is appropriate. Not if we're going any higher than 20.
I would need an amendment approval by the LGS because you're adding a line item.
It would still be the same amount of money, only just simply moving it around, but we still have to notify,
Yes, they don't.
Division of Government
You can
Services.
spend for capital items out of that. Oh, it's in salary and wage, right?
Yes.
Once you make that transfer between line items, because there's no budget, it requires the LGS approval, another public hearing.
That's right.
Publication, and you come on your budget amendment. So there's like 3 different times where you need that initial public hearing, and that's one of them.
In November, can money be moved from salary and wages to capital?
You can transfer, yes.
Any other questions on the budget?
So just so that I'm clear, as this budget stands now, you cannot insert anything in the 2018 line items without approval or amendment.
Correct.
So basically, we can't count on anything other than what our surplus was from last year.
Maybe.
Well, there was no actual money set aside for any of 2018 for public works or O&E, other than what we had, we didn't
Already
spend last year.
Right, I mean,
There's
there's
nothing
offset
additional
balances.
set in to run the city.
There's nothing additional in the capital fund section of this budget. So there is a budget line item for salaries and for those general other expenses.
You probably should have said something last month, asked a question or brought it up so that we would have been prepared. I mean, you're pulling this slow in the process of being able to adopt this.
I spoke with the CFO last meeting about it.
Well, I still think that would have been the time to draw it to our attention, when it was introduced. We could have made the adjustment, proper notification, the question, everything else, wasn't done. Anybody else have any other questions for the budget? Larry, you okay? Okay. I'm gonna ask for a roll call.
Mr. Barbato,
Pass.
I'm sorry, yes?
Pass.
Oh, pass. Mr. Buchanan,
Pass.
pass.
And passport here tonight, huh?
Ms. Givens,
No.
Mr. Hughes,
No.
Mr. Benesia.
Yes.
Okay, we have 2 pass, 2 noes, and a yes. Mr. Barbato,
No.
okay. Mr. Buchanan,
Yes.
okay, so there are 3 noes and 2 yeses.
So what do we do now? Back to the drawing board and try this again next month. I would make recommendations that if council is unhappy with the numbers that we have, you're gonna have to give proper notification to us so that we can at least have them. And they'll also have to be given to our auditor.
For 2 years, you up front talked about having budget workshops. Absolutely positively had to have budget workshops.
That's correct.
And this year, when you're the mayor, you did not have one.
I wanted to have budget workshops and Larry says, it's not necessary. And he didn't wanna have a budget workshop. I did mention that to, when we had the finance meeting, and Harold was a part of that as well. So,
I think what I said was that we never had one in the past. since I've been here.
You were not in favor of having a budget workshop. I wanted to have it, and I just seem to have the support to want to do it for a special meeting. So I'm gonna show up to a meeting and nobody's gonna be there, right? I mean, if that's the way you guys want to play, that's different. I don't think that that's professional. We're here to do the city's business, not personal vendettas.
No, we're just trying to make sure you're saying something to do something, and
Budget's
then you
okay,
don't do
it's
it.
not a tax increase.
Say it and we'll show up.
Well, there's an issue, there's no money in there. There's no public works.
Yeah.
We have monies that are in the capital.
Buildings are full.
Well, let me ask point blank, does anybody have any, knowledge about some spending that we're gonna be doing within Public Works as far as capital improvement is concerned? Yes or no?
Well, you have,
There's 8 months left, 9 months left in the year. Who knows what could happen?
Very
Who
good.
knows what we could need?
Okay, but we have several items that we can go through in case we have to do something. So,
We have
all
our
right,
salt building falling apart, the whole back of it's blown out.
okay. Moving along here, Fred.
Mayor, we'll be right with you. This has caused another issue that we'll address in a moment, if I could have
Go ahead.
2 minutes.
It's just a.
Yeah, she had surgery.
Emergency temporary budget appropriation. Resolution. You don't even have to say that.
Mayor, Council, here's the issue that the auditor and the CFO and I are discussing. You have a temporary budget in place. It is based upon 26% of your annual budget. 26% is basically 1/4 of the year. 1/4 of the year ended at the end of March. Had you passed this budget, you would have been putting in place funding for the balance of the year, including the month of April and including a portion of May, until you get back here to reconsider the budget. So this conversation is basically suggesting that we now orally do an emergency temporary appropriation, taking the 26% previously approved and expanding it to a temporary budget of 50%. That way you will continue to have operating money going forward until you get to the point where you can properly approve a permanent budget. We'll do it orally. The auditor will work with the CFO to get the appropriate writing together, and they will then memorialize that oral motion within the next couple of days so everybody knows where we are. But it's an increase in your temporary budget previously approved so we can keep functioning.
So it'll be 26 to 50% or 52%?
That's what we'll have to take a
Should be
look at.
52%, I would think.
Right, well, it will go up to no more than 50%.
We'll max out at 50.
Why don't you just make it 40? That'll get you through May.
So, you want me to make a motion to?
What council has before it now is a resolution for an emergency appropriation, increasing the temporary budget from the previous 26% to an amount not to exceed 50%, the specific amount to be provided to the municipality through the efforts of the auditor in cooperation with the CFO within the next 48 hours.
That will be resolution 42, 2018.
That's the resolution before council, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Want to make the necessary motion?
make a motion.
I'll second. Want to do a roll call?
Yes.
Mr. Barbetto,
Yes.
Mr. Buchanan,
Yes.
Ms. Gibbons,
Yes,
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Benesia.
Yes. And with that being said, next Wednesday night, if council's okay, we'll have a budget workshop to discuss. Everybody okay with that?
No,
No.
I'm working.
So what would be
Do
the
it
day to have a
Monday
meeting
night,
for a budget
Monday.
workshop?
Monday would be good for me. Anytime. Next Wednesday after work.
What's that?
You can advertise.
All that, yeah.
Anytime.
I think maybe you should get the clerk maybe back next week and put all your schedules together.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's got to be properly advertised at least 48 hours in advance, so if to do it here, we all got checker schedules and all, so.
Okay.
Okay.
But it'll most likely be on a Wednesday? I'll try to have to be here too, so.
Yeah. Either Wednesday, it's up to, some of it's works,
You're here on Wednesday for the most part anyway.
Yeah, but that schedule around me, I'll come whenever that come. But Wednesdays would be a good day.
Moving down the line here, I am still at this time gonna make a hold on the nomination for the solicitor and for the labor relations for reasons that I've stated in the past. As far as, the next issue, the nomination of the risk management consultant. Fred, you and I have had some conversation on this matter here. I have stated my feelings. I think that things could have been done a little bit differently as to notifying me about, first off, that there's a problem. Secondly, a family member works in a different firm that they want to try to push through. I think it's really muddied the waters to the point where now I'm going to have to issue executive authority to make a nomination for Hardenberg.
Before you say that,
On
I
a
just like to
temporary
correct
basis.
you on the statement that you're making.
What's the statement?
The employee does not try to push anything through with regard to that.
It was slipped in whatever way.
Has nothing to do with the vote on this council. Absolutely nothing.
Larry, the problem is this, there's a strong appearance of a conflict of interest, okay?
There's no conflict of interest.
You're fighting
Mr.
for
Cerny and I have had this discussion, and he assured me that there is not a conflict of interest in this matter. She has no dog in the fight. She doesn't stand to benefit, nor does anybody in her family stand to benefit from an appointment made by that particular company. And that's all I'll say.
Fred, do I have the right to make this appointment?
Under this form of government, the mayor has the executive power of the municipality, and it's his duty to see that all laws and ordinances of force and effect are observed. The extension of the executive power, and the question that we have for tonight is whether the mayor can take an interim action. We have done research on this, and Mayor, in all candor, my work on this is ongoing. And we have found times when a mayor with executive power has appointed, by way of example, a interim chief police where there was no chief police. That's a public safety issue, and that has been accepted and it's reported in the courts. We are continuing to work on this. I believe that this power may be there. I am not quite locked down yet, and I would also like to offer something else, because our reasoning on this goes to a couple of other things. I'm communicating with David DeWeese, the attorney for JIF. My concern, and the concern that I think would trigger the executive power from the mayor, is what happens if this party is not appointed? And that is not a particular party, but a competent consultant to do this work. Where are we in relationship to JIF and our insurance coverage? My previous conversations with Mr. DeWeese of some weeks ago basically were that if the municipality continues to work to bring the consultant on board, JIF would not take any particular action negative to the municipality. Our conversation with him on Monday was that he is reviewing this matter with the executive director of the JIF and would get back to me this week. I was hoping to have an answer from him before coming in here tonight, but that hasn't happened. I did have another call into him today, but I haven't heard back from him. Because if they intend to take some extreme action against this municipality, I think that first of all, council should be aware of that so that you can possibly resolve it. And quite frankly, in the absence of that, I think that the executive power that the mayor is seeking to exercise becomes much more viable. So we are doing the work on this. I think the mayor is on a positive track if this is not resolved. We are also going back and trying to find a charter of this municipality, because we want to see if when this government was created, if there's anything said in that charter about the scope of the executive power of the mayor. It is called out in a straight and direct statement in the statute, but it does not give any flavor as to how far that executive power goes. So we're in the midst of this. I'm within a day of resolving it. I do understand what the mayor is doing, and I understand why. And I'm prepared to keep council advised as to what our work is. So Mayor, if you want to make that appointment tonight, that is fine, but I will continue to advise you as to what we are finding. We are working on it, and I wouldn't be saying all these things that I'm saying now if we weren't working on it, because we're obviously in the middle of trying to find a solution for this issue.
Mr. Chairman, my question would then, if the mayor has the executive power to make this appointment, would this appointment be of a neutral company?
I believe it would be any company that is, otherwise competent, and quite frankly,